Let's start right off. Imagine the visceral, harsh sound of a heavy wet towel twisting forcefully over a stainless steel sink. That tight, ringing ring of water right before a brutal shift begins. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're exploring Tim Esgrover's book, Relentless, The Hidden Cost of Meeting Pressure. We're going to look deeply into how we fundamentally misunderstand what it actually means to be relentless, because being relentless requires a sharp clinical focus, which Tim Esgrover details meticulously in Relentless, The Hidden Cost of Needing Pressure. Let's uncover the absolute truths inside Relentless, The Hidden Cost of Needing Pressure, and see how to apply them so we can all go wise together.
We're bypassing all the standard introductions today to establish one cold, hard truth right off the bat. Relentless is not your hunger. It is the bill for your bargains. It's not a fleeting mood, it's definitely not the volume of your voice, and it is certainly not your speed. Relentless is the strict, uncompromising private standard you hold long before the emergency heat ever arrives. If you want to understand Relentless, the hidden cost of needing pressure, this is exactly where we start. Think about a scarred chef's knife resting on a stained oak board. Steam just drifting quietly under a steel hood. Looks pretty peaceful, right? But here's the thing. A quiet kitchen can easily fake mastery. This book reveals that your private standard is actually leaking. You're sitting in that quiet kitchen, mistaking the eventual emergency heat and the deafening noise of a busy ticket rail for actual discipline. You probably think your problem is a lack of effort, but actually, scratch that, your real problem is the hidden bargain you make when absolutely nobody is watching.
Act 1. Panic impersonating a standard.
Your expert inner voice probably tells you, hey, I work best under pressure. It sounds noble, doesn't it? It sounds like you're the exact type of high performer who truly steps up when the stakes are at their highest. Well, we're going to walk that belief right into a logical brick wall. Pressure does not chop the onions. Pressure does not sharpen the blade. Pressure does not clean the station. Pressure only reveals what you absolutely refused to do when you were cold. It completely exposes the quiet preparation you skipped just because you didn't feel motivated yet. Picture a single, uncut onion sitting next to an empty steel prep bowl under cold fluorescent light. When the tickets start printing and the rail fills up, you panic and immediately reach for speed. But speed makes that first cut ugly. And that ugly rushed cut changes how the food cooks in the pan. The pan changes the plate, and ultimately that plated dish exposes the cook who secretly relies on chaos just to get moving. So this brings us to a stark losing dilemma. Option 1, hide from your appetite. You try to stay calm and cold, and you end up serving food without heat or passion. Option 2, worship the appetite. You chase the heat, you thrive on the adrenaline, and you end up burning the entire station down in the process. Look, both of these options lose. One hides from the necessary gritty work, and the other absolutely worships chaos and destruction. The habit you've developed is what this book calls panic seasoning. It's the habit of waiting for pressure, and it only works because panic can flawlessly impersonate high standards. The reality slap here is that your self-sabotage was letting panic season the standard. You are actively seeking out drama, delays, and emergencies just to avoid the plain, quiet, unglamorous work. UpGoWise requires us to step away from this trap. Heat is not method. Imagine a hand actively wiping down a stainless steel pass with a coarse towel under a harsh spotlight. There is no speech, no apology. The pass is either completely clean or it is not. This strips away your favorite, most comforting middle state, the state of being almost ready. Just let that weighty silence sit for a moment. And intention does not plate the food. Act 2. Readiness built on the line. We're shifting gears now as we explore a second behavioral phase. We call this the test of contact. Imagine that scarred chef's knife tapping the wooden board in slow intervals. You likely harbor a second false belief that tells you, I really need to feel ready first before I begin. It sounds careful, right? It sounds mature. But a dining room doesn't pause for your readiness. The pan doesn't wait for your confidence to arrive. Readiness is built right there on the line in the moment of contact, not in the comfort of private preparation. Which leads us to challenge you with the central paradox of this book. Can you obey the standard without turning pain into your identity? Tim Esgrover isn't handing you a softer, gentler life here. He is handing you a cleaner test. Can you command the dark heat without worshiping the flame? Because if you use too little heat, you serve bland work, but use too much and you literally scorch the cook. This brings us to the sequence of craft. 1. Oil before onion. 2. Heat before color. 3. Color before sauce. This perfectly outlines the clinical nature of maintaining a standard over chaos. A true standard is simply order that holds its sequence under severe strain. If your sequence changes or breaks just because the kitchen gets loud and the printer whirs, it was never a standard. It was just a wish with good posture.
Act 3. The hidden cost of rescue.
In the quiet aftermath of the dinner rush, we have to ask, why do incredibly smart people keep playing the heroic rescuer? Because the station tells the truth. Look at that blackened rim of a burnt metal pan resting in a stained sink. During service, the rescuer runs, sweats, and saves the plate at the absolute last second. Everyone in the room claps and says thank you, but nobody ever asks why the station was dirty in the first place. The sink and the board tell the unvarnished truth about an unmanaged service. They expose the hidden, exhausting cost of adopting this rescue identity. Now you're faced with a second dilemma. Option 1, protect intensity, neglect craft. Or option 2, protect craft, hide from pressure. Once again, both of these options absolutely fail. Option 1 makes the heat and the drama sacred, resulting in a burned-out mess. Option 2 makes safety sacred, meaning nothing truly great ever leaves your hands. The book specifically diagnoses this as fear's seasoning. Fear is the hidden driver here. It's the seasoning that masks itself as discipline, making you overwork, defensively delay your start, violently attack feedback, or perform this theatrical toughness. True discipline, according to the philosophy in this book, is the clinical, absolute refusal to let fear choose the seasoning for your work. Consider the dull pan. A single cotton towel drops onto the pass next to our scarred chef's knife. The hook is resolved right here, folks. You weren't lacking hunger this whole time. You were renting your standards from emergencies. You needed that external emergency just to prove to yourself that you were serious.
Act 4. Own the pass.
We are going to pay off these narrative threads right now with a heavy verdict. Own the pass. A clean standard doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need the room to clap. It doesn't need an impending disaster to prove its worth. It only needs quiet, exact obedience to the craft. Relentless is the cook who stops needing fire as proof. I strongly urge you to deep dive the philosophy of this book. You've got to stop negotiating with the work. You need to intimately know when your hunger is actually serving the craft, and when your hunger is just a theatrical performance serving your own vanity. Understanding this difference is how we truly upgo wise. The heat exposed your bargain. That is the final truth. The standard always collects its due. It collects through the missed prep, it collects through the burned pan, and it collects through the exhausted identity you built around rescue. Let that deliberate silence cut out all your remaining excuses. I am inviting you to make this 0-second decision and execute a 24-hour micro-experiment. Over the next 24 hours, choose one specific task you continually keep rescuing at the last minute. Remove one private bargain before you begin that task. Notice what happens when you do. After the clean pass is done, write down exactly what excuse tried to return to your mind. Make this decision right now. If not now, not ever.